Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets, cause we know who we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here, ain't stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future, but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. Tell 'em I can't take no loss. My team hold no L's, no. Aiming for the top, can't make it by myself.
What? Yeah, we look a little different, baby. Move is done, and we are back on the air. Look, I'm not going to spend all day on the move, okay? I'm not going to spend all day on it. But let's just start with the fact that we were back here on Tuesday, as promised, already successful, wildly successful. Yes, Scotty is to the left of me. Scott's to the left of me. We got a better shot for Scotty.
What's going on? How we doing?
Look at this shot. Look at this guy. The ladies were saying Scotty's so cute on YouTube. Let's see if I can get him in trouble with his wife.
What's up?
You ladies
How we doing over
apparently
here?
think Scotty's cute. It's bull crap.
It is bull crap.
Well, it's bull crap. I'm not getting that kind of this guy, younger, faster, stronger. You know how that goes. Look, we made it. It was a bigger lift than we thought it was going to be in a lot of regards. All right, we're not going to get too much into the details, but it was a heavy lift. But we called on the right guy. Literally a superhuman of engineering, Roy, and his amazing assistant, Alex. This dude, both their combined IQ's got to be like around 700. Like these dudes are good at what they do. Let me just put it that way. Real good at what they do. They came in, they got what they needed from the old studio, brought it over, set it up, knocked out all our problems. Scotty and I are buzzing around like flies, making their lives more difficult, and they knocked it out. They knocked it out of the park. Roy and Alex. So we're here. We're here. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody. We made it. And so I'm a little off center, right? And that's because we got some other adjustments coming to this back wall. This back wall is going to metamorphosize. It's going to blossom. It's going to come to fruition over the next couple weeks. You'll see it happen. But I love the look of it. It came out way better than I thought it would. Scotty has been amazing through this whole thing, especially putting up with me. Yeah, we're here. We're here so we can break things. So let's do it. Let's start breaking things. And there's one thing that has grabbed national attention as it was meant to do, and it is another step in a long line of moves Trump has been making in a few directions. One of those directions away from the Epstein thing. The other direction a little bit towards authoritarianism. We know the dude's been angling different ways to get his own SS, his own army. It's what he wants. His private army. DeSantis flirted with it. Now Trump wants it on a national scale, and we have taken a big step in that direction.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you.
All right. Everybody's a victim. Be afraid. Be very afraid. The more afraid you are, the more complicit you are. Make it stop, dear leader. Make the crime stop. Make my fear stop. They have to put you in a state of fear so they can alleviate you from that state of fear. And yes, he can do this. He absolutely can do this. He mentioned Section 740 under the Home Rule Act, which allowed D.C. to elect local government, mayor, city council, things like that. But this entire time, federally, They have the final say. They have the final say on laws, policies, and how it is policed. They do. They do. Now, he has 30 days because he declared an emergency. Okay, he declared an emergency, and under that emergency, in Section 740, he can, for 30 days, take control of the police force. And because D.C. is not a state, see, when Gavin Newsom had the threat of National Guard troops coming into his state, he technically at the time had control of the state National Guard. That's what it is to have statehood, something that D.C. has been angling for quite some time. And when you have statehood, you can stiff arm something like this for at least a time, right? Until the Supreme Court gets involved. This iteration of the Supreme Court, which 9 times out of 10 that they will rule favorably to this administration. They did in this instance, and the National Guard troops showed up. Okay? They don't have to go through those hoops here. They don't have to put up any pushback from any governors. They can just do it. And so 800 National Guardsmen have been mobilized. They have been mobilized. They're coming. Okay? That's it. They're coming. Not only are the 800 coming, the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, is under direct control of Pam Bondi, which you'll find out, and this administration. And you may be saying, what about posse comitatus in this instance? No. Sorry. Doesn't apply to the D.C. Guard. Why? Because like I just said, the D.C. Guard is under complete federal control. Trump's control, period. Period. And by the way, this has never been done before. This has never been done to D.C. ever. Trump's doing it now.
Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast.
Yeah, you better be Terry. All right, so Pam Bondi's got control. Pam Bondi's got control. 30 days is what he has. Now, you may be asking yourself, can he just do this forever? No, not by this emergency. He can't. Not through Section 740 of the Home Rule Act. He cannot. It has to be approved by Congress. 60% in the Senate. 60 votes in the Senate. 60 votes in the Senate is what it takes. 60 votes. And right now they have a 53-47 vote majority. Okay, so to think that they could get 60 votes for something like this, I doubt they'll even pursue that path. Okay, so he cannot do this past the 30 days. He cannot do it indefinitely, although he'd love to. He'd love to. Make no mistake about that. What can he do? He can have the FBI and the DOJ direct local law enforcement, which he's doing, and can have FBI agents crawling all over the joint in any capacity he deems fit. And by the way, he's going after the homeless too. He already mentioned the homeless, he said, well, quote, I'm going to make our capital safer and more beautiful than it ever was before. The homeless have to move out immediately. We will give you places to stay, but far from the capital. Can he do that? Good question. Well, because the parks are under direct federal control, he can eject them from the National Mall or any parks in the area. Can he eject them from the city? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's be clear on that. He can eject them from the mall, though. Yes, he can. Not that there were any. I was just there. We've talked about it. I'll talk about it more, especially in light of some video I'm going to play. But yeah, no, I didn't see anything like that in the mall. The mall seemed literally like the most reverent, clean, safe, beautiful place I may have ever been in this country. I may be rivaled by the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was absolutely awe-inspiring. But, I mean, look, label me a libtard, far left, label me what you want, but you better put in that, under that label, you better put lover of America, and the America that was on display to me there was also awe-inspiring. Let's keep hearing this.
It is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick. Very quickly, as they say.
Quickly. Real quickly. real strongly, bigly, quickly. Uh-oh. Now he's talking about, let's see here. Let's disseminate this a little bit. He's talking about New York, Baltimore, and what was the third one? I can't remember right now. New York, Baltimore, and it was Oakland. Thank you. New York, Baltimore, and Oakland is what he's talking about. He's not talking about Memphis. He's not talking about Baton Rouge. He's not talking about Little Rock, Arkansas, Birmingham, Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. He's not talking about those cities. What do the first group of cities he mentioned have in common? And what do the second group of cities he mentioned have in common? Oh, that's easy math for you? Yeah. It's pretty easy math for everybody. Blue state, blue state, blue state, New York, Baltimore, Oakland, blue state, blue state, blue state, Memphis, Little Rock, Mobile, Baton Rouge, Birmingham, red state, red state, red state, red state, red state. He's not talking about invading his political allies. He's talking about getting those sanctuary cities, the ones that are crime-ridden, the ones whose governors don't do anything about, all blue. That's what he's talking about. Let's be real clear on that little bit.
Until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police. As the police are standing up there in uniform, they're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any search. So and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Excuse me?
This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership, the radical left.
Excuse me? Spitting in faces, doing whatever the hell they want? Doing whatever the hell they want? You mean like this?
USA! You guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't.
Okay, that guy screaming in that cop's face that's inciting violence against the DC police? That's Jared Wise. He's now on the Council of Weaponization. He's the assistant to the council, to the chairman. Yes, he has a government position now. That's doing whatever the hell you want. What are you talking about, Trump? What are you talking about? The cops can do whatever the hell they want because they're getting spit on, you say? So when they end up killing people, it's okay because they were getting spit on. When unmarked guys start pulling people off the street and putting them into vans and making them disappear, it's okay because they were getting spit on. When I said authoritarianism earlier, you're like, Brett, you're overreacting. When you hear their dear leader say, the cops, no more will they be restrained. Now they can do whatever the hell they want. Is that authoritarianism? Is that the stuff of dictators? The answer's pretty obvious. We're going to see a ramp up of violence by officers on unarmed minorities. We're going to see it spike. It's absolutely inevitable. It's going to spike.
It's time for a quick break. Then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because democracy doesn't defend itself.
A lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way. We're going to have National Guard. But Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in, it's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people.
All right. Yeah. He's going to bring in the military if needed. There. And then they're doing it. Hegseth himself said, yeah. They're coming in very bigly, very strongly. And 800 are coming in, but we're only going to deploy 100 to 200 at a time. Okay? And they're not supposed to be doing any like beating over the head and dragging away in cuffs or zip ties. They're not supposed to be doing that. But when they started doing that in California, the Supreme Court said, yeah. No, that's good. We're good here. No problem. So it will be no different here. It will be no different here. And they will be fully armed and they are under orders to defend themselves, unquote. Okay? So defending themselves can look like a lot of things. One would say, Sun Tzu would say, a preemptive strike on a possible enemy is the smartest thing. Look, defending themselves could be a lot of things. That's all I'm saying. And they keep pointing to the crime.
Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. D.C. should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe.
It is. It is a place where I went and I felt safe. And I know I wasn't just in the National Mall. We went other places in the city, in and around the city. It was gorgeous. I'll tell you what I didn't see when I was there, but you see now? Oh, check this out. This is beautiful. Yeah, you're seeing that right. That's armed DEA agents patrolling the National Mall. Of all the places I went when I was in Washington, the National Mall was definitely the least in need of the DEA patrolling it. That's a promise from me to you. It's a show of force. It's a little more of that authoritarian touch that I'm pointing to. Just sprinkle it. Just sprinkle it a little here, sprinkle a little there. Right? You can't call him a dictator just yet. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there where you can definitively call him a dictator. And here's the problem. We know that 30% of this country is dying the wool for this guy. They are so zealous for this guy that if you were to say to them, listen, tomorrow, Trump's dictatorship officially begins. Tomorrow, he's going to call himself a dictator and he's going to run this country in accordance to that. If you told them that, they would be all on board. You would not get any pushback from any MAGA about Trump being in control of your lives, complete control of the military, economic policy, social policy for the rest of his life, and then pick a successor. If you told MAGA that, they absolutely would be on board. Even though so many of them identify with the military, have military families who served in the military, people who died to preserve democracy, none of that matters. If you ask MAGA, not Republicans, MAGA, tomorrow, you good with a Trump dictatorship? They all say yes. So, for those of us who aren't good with a dictatorship, what percentage of us will simply be complicit because our lives won't be as affected as others? And we really don't feel like trying to kick off a revolution, right? We just don't have it in us. So we're going to roll over. How many are all about it? And how many are down with rolling over? What's that number look like now? Because if that number is anywhere over 51%, guess what? There's no longer more of us than there are of them. If that number starts to creep over 50% of Americans who are okay with this in one form or another, then guess what? We are a dictatorship. We won't be the first and we won't be the last. They've come and they've gone and they will come again. And we will simply be one of those now. Okay, well, we're going to hear, I got to take, it feels dramatic, but does it? We're there now. It was dramatic 6, 7, 8 years ago when people would long game what a Trump presidency would look like. Talking this way was dramatic then. Is it dramatic now? Is it histrionics? Is it hyperbolic? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And of course, they've got the right zealot for the job to clean up D.C. They got the right zealot for the job.
Our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge. And she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital.
They picked the biggest bigot, one of the biggest racists, one of the biggest xenophobes at Fox News, handpicked her for this dirty little task. Because they know she will have no problem. She will get downright excited at the prospect of an authoritarian grasp on the crime of D.C., on the people of D.C., 800,000 people in D.C. She can't wait to have them in her grasp. They picked the right woman for the job, and they know they did.
They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today.
Scotty is wearing a lot of hats right now. We are experiencing things over at the new studio. There's gonna be bumps. Look, Scotty, it's all part of the journey. But look at that look on his face. You can't see it because we're having. You can't see the look on his face because we're having a couple problems. It doesn't matter. Look, why is she so excited? Why is she so fired up about prosecuting 14-year-olds? Do your job as you see fit. I can't stop you. You've got federal authority to do whatever you want, Jeanine Pirro, and you've got a Supreme Court that is almost completely in lockstep with this administration. So go for it. Go do your thing. Do your racist, xenophobic, thing. But why do you have to be so excited about going after children? There's laws that protect children criminals for reasons. They can be rehabilitated before they hit adulthood. They can be shown the error of their ways before they make them permanently. These bad decisions are permanent scars on their life, things that turn their entire lives in the wrong direction. It can be avoided. They are children. I mean, obviously it gets murkier as you go up the age scale, no kidding, of course, but you're so excited about going after these kids instead of excited about the possibility of rehabilitating them and turning their lives in the correct direction. You're excited about ending it early. You're excited about the wrong thing. This is the wrong person for you, DC. This is the wrong person for your children. Another Republican is the wrong person for your children. That is a consistent theme. A consistent theme. And then Kash Patel, he comes up here and boy, I'm telling you, Kash isn't getting it. A couple of these Trump appointees aren't getting it yet. They don't know how to spin completely, properly, the full propaganda. They don't know how to go all the way properly. Sometimes some of them don't sound right. Some of them say things they're not supposed to say. Kash is kind of both of these things.
Administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force.
All right, blah, blah, blah. We stood up. Did you hear what I heard? Crime is historically low? Is that what you said, Kash? Crime is historically low. Well, then what the hell are we doing this for? Where's the emergency? If crime is historically low, as a matter of fact, in D.C., crime is lower. Over the last 18 months, all violent crimes have dropped about 600 cases. These are all in case amounts. Homicide, down 12 cases. Assault with a dangerous weapon, down 130 cases. Robbery, down about 500. Burglary, grand theft auto, all across the board. Over the last 18 months, crime is down in D.C. And your boy just said it, Trump. Your boy he just let it spill. He wanted to give his dear leader credit on the back end for something that had been happening during his watch. But what he didn't realize is that he's flying in the face of what Trump is claiming is happening right now. Whoops. Bad move, Cash.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things, pushing back, speaking up, and holding the line.
Yes, new studio. I know I made a little announcement early, but we have better numbers in the middle of the show. Obviously, new studio. Yes, that's right. That's right. And the feedback has been positive so far, and I appreciate you guys for that. I also miss the old space. Sentimentality, for sure. Nostalgia, the whole deal. It meant something to me. It meant something to all of you. But we have to endure. We have to move forward. And it was a heavy lift. And Roy made short work of it. One day, it took 3 between the work Scotty and I did. But Roy and Alex did amazing work over one day. Started early, ended very late. And it was a heavy lift for everybody involved, but it was, to say a proficient job by Roy would be vastly underselling it. Those two are amazing. They're amazing. But I'm telling you right now, it was a heavy lift in other ways too. And please go to the website. Go to the website. Donate. I know, look, what you have donated to this point made this all possible. It made it so the show can endure. You have done that. You did that. And now, whatever you can do, if you can go back and do it again, I know to even ask is crazy, but if something should happen, with any of the new equipment, it would be much more difficult to get it correct than it was before this weekend happened. All right, I'll just put it that way. If you can donate, please donate. That's all. And thank you so much for your support through this. Our numbers, you guys have come over. And yes, we are going to be ever evolving this wall. A lot of personal stuff's going to go up on it, including a very cool addition right here over my right shoulder. That's why I've got the shot a little off like this, a little off center, because I'm going to be sharing the space with some cool crap coming very, very soon. Yeah. So, look, we're going to continue. We're going to continue because it's important you hear what these people have to say, okay? And what Cash Patel just said is we are at historic lows on crime thanks to Trump. And just earlier in the show, you hear clip after clip of Trump and allies say crime is absolutely out of control, so we got to bring in the National Guard. Which is it? Which is it? What?
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people, and we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. No, Eddie's very talented. Crime is down in Washington, D.C. Street crime, violent crime by 25%. And people have seen, they've noticed a big difference.
And the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities.
Need I say more? Need I say more about the hypocrisy? Need I say more about these dudes need to get on the same page with their lies? They can't keep them straight. There's too many. And Cash Patel doesn't get the assignment. He just doesn't understand what they're doing there. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. But you know who does get it? D.C. Mayor Bowser is her name. What's her first name? Muriel Bowser. Thank you. Okay, Muriel Bowser. She gets it. She understands what's happening here. Okay? She gets it. She only has her job because of the Home Rule Act, which will be coming under fire once again. She may not have her job long, but she does have her job now, and she's liked by the city of D.C. very much. They like their mayor. And she said, look, I don't want to minimize what the president said, but I also don't want to minimize the intrusion this is to my city. She doesn't want to make enemies with Donald Trump. She is directly under his control, and she vowed to continue to work with them. But she had some choice words about this.
We know, however, as most have heard from the president's press conference, that he has prerogatives in D.C. unlike anywhere else in the country, including his authority given by our home rule charter to require the mayor, to require me to supply services of the Metropolitan Police Department. And he also has control and the ability to deploy the National Guard.
She's right. She goes on, but she's right. He has the ability, every right, under Section 740 of the Home Rule Act. He has every right to do this, and he is. And he is. And, you know, she doesn't want to make enemies with this guy. Smart move. In your position, really smart move. But she did dismiss his assertions that D.C. was crime-ridden, and she argued that Mr. Trump, as she calls him, is fully aware of the crime statistics, even in the face of what he's saying. She's saying, don't think he doesn't understand. Don't think he doesn't understand that the crime is actually down while he declares an emergency. An emergency. She continues. We'll hear from him just a little bit more.
My message to residents is this. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about, full statehood. And she should be talking about it. Because then there would be a governor to push back on 800 troops showing up in their city when crime is down. When crime is down, okay? And she vowed to make sure that this isn't a disaster, okay? She vowed to make sure that this doesn't turn into some kind of political stunt. That's not in her control. I'm glad that that's where your mind's at. She wants to lower the chaos, lower the uncertainty, the fear that D.C. residents may be feeling right now, and they should be feeling it. She wants to downplay it. I'm telling you right now, Mayor, it's not in your control. Donald Trump is going to sow as much fear as he feels necessary to exert his authority over the 800,000 residents of Washington, D.C. And so Pam Bondi, it's funny, she had to go out, or Pirro rather, had to go out and clean up Patel's mess a little bit. She appeared on Fox, of course. Fox is all about this narrative. They don't want to touch the Epstein stuff quite as much, but they're all about this.
The National Guard, the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, so that criminals know now that we see them, we are watching them, and we're going to make them accountable. But make no mistake, Sean, this is just the beginning. Today was, as the president called it, Liberation Day. But
oh, man, Liberation Day. And here's where she cleans up Patel's garbage.
What about other cities, violent cities, Chicago and New York City and L.A. and other cities that have defund, dismantled no bail laws?
Well, look, our murder rate is like 5 times at least higher than New York City. We've got one of the highest murder rates in the country. We were the 4th largest a couple years ago. It continues. And what we've got here are people that are not even making complaints about the quality of life crimes, whether it's shoplifting or damaging property or an attempt at a carjacking. They don't even call the police. We're not even seeing most of the crime that's occurring. And the clearance rate on homicides, Sean, is a joke. These cases are not being solved. And until he came along, it was just going along and, oh, yeah, maybe it got a little better this year.
There it is.
But it's never good enough. It's never peaceful enough. And that's the problem.
That's how you do it, Kash Patel. That's how you do it. Yeah, historic lows on crime across the board, but it's never enough. And it certainly still needs the attention of our National Guard. Did you hear what I heard during that? I thought that was really funny. She goes, all these petty thefts and these crimes, shoplifting, all this is happening, but nobody's reporting it. Think of all the crime that's not being reported. Well, if they're not reporting it, what, did you talk to them yourself, Jeanine? Did you take a poll? Did you go down to D.C. and ask the residents, how many of you have unreported crimes that you experience? What are you talking about? You know that people are... What are you even talking about? Here's a little mashup because Some Republicans, they know the assignment. You're going to see a couple of the usual suspects here who know just how to stay on brand, even though we're not talking about your state, even though we're not talking about your city or, anything anything personally about. These guys are going to come on here and tell you how their lives are in danger right there on Capitol Hill.
Well, first off, D.C. is not safe. People don't just walk the streets in D.C. and feel safe anywhere around D.C. I mean, I've got to be careful in what I do, but I've got people in my office that are very careful about where they go. So this is great what Donald Trump is doing.
A couple times a year when I do onboard briefings for my interns, I have to regrettably explain to them that it's a dangerous city and they need to be aware of their surroundings and probably travel with other people as well.
Again, another one of my staff members, his car was parked in front of his apartment just like 6 blocks from the Capitol, riddled with gunfire from a gang fight. Every week I hear of some staffer being hurt.
All right, first of all, Rick Scott, Skeletor, don't act like you don't love violence and chaos. You're Skeletor. You're one of the greatest bad guys of my lifetime. So don't tell me you don't love the violence and the chaos. You've been sowing violence on He-Man and his allies for years. 2, hey, Tom Cotton. You want to talk about D.C., and I doubt, first of all, I think every one of them is just lying and making crap up. Tom Cotton, you want to talk about D.C.? Let's talk about Little Rock. Little Rock, Arkansas, Tom Cotton. Little Rock is one of the most violent and has been for 2 decades, one of the most violent cities. And for such a low population compared to the other cities that are riddled with violent gang crime, yours is relatively small. It's a smaller community that has been terrorized by gang violence for 2 decades plus. It is one of the major hubs of gang violence on the eastern side of the country. Why don't you go on there and talk about Little Rock, Tom Cotton? The hypocrisy is stunning. It's stunning. Tom Cotton, these guys are out here talking about Tom. They're talking about my aides go out to their car and their car is riddled with bullet holes. He must have just watched The Equalizer or something. I don't know. These guys, they've got some imagination. Like I said, I thought Washington, D.C. was absolutely beautiful. The fact that there are DEA agents roaming the National Mall should be offensive. The idea that is what is necessary to maintain peace around the Vietnam War Memorial, the Korean War Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial. The fact that you want to imply that 5 armed DEA agents need to have an armed presence there is an affront to all Americans.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because silence isn't an option.
To those absent members, you can go to another city, another state, even another time zone, but you cannot escape your responsibility to the people of Texas. Eventually, you will be here. Tomorrow, when the gavel drops, the question is simple. Will you be in that chair to vote for these critical disaster recovery bills, or will you be remembered as one who did not show up? The choice is yours.
You know, my colleagues and I have gotten a lot of threats from some very powerful people. Donald Trump has threatened to send the FBI to come find us. Greg Abbott has threatened to remove us from our duly elected positions in the Texas legislature. And Ken Paxton sent out a tweet to his many followers asking them to, quote, hunt us down.
Yeah, hunt them down. Hunt them down. So yes, we're going to continue to cover this redistricting in Texas because it is evolving and it's going to lead the way for what happens in a lot of other states. Okay, this is the battleground for this right now. The big problem being mid-census. Okay, that's the big issue here. They're trying to do it mid-census, between census taking, and Texas in particular using the disastrous flood as an excuse to call a 30-day special session. And then when they get to the special session for the flood victims, for, flood maintenance and creating new laws to make sure nothing like this ever happens again, what do? First item on the agenda, redistricting. Have they gotten to the flood victims and the mitigation of that disaster yet? No, it's all about the redistricting. And I know I've actually talked about this with some people in real life, in my life. Some people are a little confused about it. One confusion about this issue revolves around, is it legal? Can they do this? Is it legal? Well, yeah, when you got the president saying it, we're going to do this to pick up 5 seats. We're going to gerrymander to pick up 5 seats. He can say that confidently because there is legal standing. See, this battle was had in Texas in 2003. Lulac versus Perry, where there was an overarching ban on Texas redistricting between censuses, and it was struck down, okay? It was struck down by the Supreme Court. So the idea that they can't do it at all between census, actually, it's legal. It's legal. Texas did this already 20 years ago. So it's legal. And, partisan gerrymandering is not policed by the federal courts. In Rucho versus Common Cause, the federal courts said we cannot see this. We cannot rule on this. This is not a federal matter. Back to the states, okay? So there's not going to be any federal intervention in this as well. And racial gerrymandering and partisan gerrymandering in and of themselves is illegal under the Voting Rights Act. But it is extremely hard to prove that you are racially gerrymandering. They tried in South Carolina in 2024, in Alexander versus South Carolina, a lower court said, hey, your new map, it's racially biased. It needs to be struck down. And what did the Supreme Court do once again? Overruled the lower court ruling. Said there wasn't enough evidence that what they're doing was racially motivated. And now every state points to that ruling. Do you have more evidence than they had in South Carolina in 2024? You don't? Well, then we've got the ruling. It's not enough. We're not doing this racially. The courts have ruled on this. So yes, what they are doing is legal. And what Texas is doing is dirty pool. What do I mean? Well, they want to break this quorum, right? The Democrats have left. They've fled to other states, other blue states for sanctuary. So they want to block what's going on. And by the way, Abbott, he tweeted just recently. Was this morning, Scotty? Yeah, this was this morning. Democrats can run to another state, but they cannot run the will of Texans. If there's no quorum by Friday, special session number 2 will start immediately sine die, which is Latin for indefinitely. Right now, we will do this again and again and again until they come back. And what are we going to do to motivate them to come back? Here's what they're going to do.
I have been in constant communication with Department of Public Safety, which has been working to track down absent members in an effort to return them to our chamber. These efforts will continue through the weekend. For those that have fled to Illinois or to California, be reminded that the FBI's assistant has reportedly been enlisted, and their powers are not confined to any singular state's boundaries. As far as new administrative policies in our chamber go, Comptroller Kelly Hancock and I have enacted a new policy stating that any member absent for the purpose of breaking quorum will no longer have their paycheck or per diem deposited electronically. While the Constitution forbids us from withholding pay, it does not dictate how we issue the pay.
You heard it. So they're revoking direct deposit to these reps, these Texas reps, the Democrats. They're revoking direct deposit, and now they have to show up in person. Now it's literally going to cost them. And they better be very careful. Look, to assume that every single one of these Texas reps can suck up this loss, to assume it would be just that, an assumption. How many viable Dems could be pulled back home when their paychecks are threatened? You got to come in person now to get paid. Perfectly legal. You got to come in person now to get paid. I'd like to think every one of them are in a place in their lives where they won't be pressured in this manner. Maybe pressured in others. We'll see what they do. We'll see if they actually send the FBI to track them down, because that's what they promised to do. Send the FBI to track these people not track them down and arrest them, not track them down and forcibly remove them from Illinois and other places, but track them down. That's what's been promised. That's what's been promised. But this type of motivation, I'd like to think they're all immune to this type of motivation. But I think, again, that would be an assumption. This one might hit home for a few of these reps. I mean, I know everybody in my life is paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? Scotty, what's up, bro?
Well, unlike the U.S. Congress, who make around $174,000 a year minus all their insider trading, in Texas, the legislators only make $7,200 per year plus per diem.
Oh,
that has not changed since 1975.
Oh, that doesn't encourage corruption at all. Pay them an absolute pittance. Okay, I take it back. I think it is absolutely fair to assume that somebody might be peeled off by this. That is shocking, Scott. Shocking. So they knew where to hit them. Or is it, maybe it's a case, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. With such a low pay, none of them would have been motivated by pay to be there, right? So to think this would further you financially, that's not why you go to the Texas to the Texas House. You go because you can afford to go, right? You go because you can afford to go. Maybe that's how I should look at it.
Yeah, and I've heard in other interviews, I've heard James Talrico talk about that, and he's mentioned before how he's not doing it for the money, and that's the idea at least behind it. Now, do people make money off of being in politics there? Obviously. Oh, what? You got new roads being built in your district? Let me invest in that, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the new tactic. We're getting the FBI involved, and we're pulling your pay. That's the new tactic. And then Abbott just comes out here and absolutely lies right to America, or at least the portion of America that watches this particular network. He just lies right to the camera.
Of course. And they instead align with the Republicans. What we want to do is to draw districts that give those Hispanics and African Americans in the state of Texas the ability to elect their candidate of choice.
Well, that's not really, I mean, you're doing this to give Trump and Republicans in the House of Representatives 5 additional seats, right? I mean, that's the motivation, is to stave off any midterm election losses.
Again, to be clear, Jake, the reason why we're doing this is because of that court decision. Texas is now authorized under law that changed, that was different than in 2021 when we last did redistricting. Under new law, as well as new facts that surfaced in the aftermath of the Trump election, showing that many regions of the state that historically had voted Democrat, that were highly Hispanic, now chose to vote Republican and vote for Trump, as well as other Republican candidates. Districts where the electorate voted heavily for Trump, they were trapped in a Democrat congressional district. They have every right to vote for a member of Congress who's a Republican. We will give them that ability.
What he's saying is, hey, look, we had a lot of Latinos in our state that were trapped in Democratic districts, and we want to give them to vote like-minded voters do in Republican districts. That's not how a democracy works, Abbott. If a district should be broken up between 80% Democrat and 20% Republican, then so be it. That particular district is mostly Democrat. That's how democracy works. You don't see where the line ends on Democratic support in an 80% Democratic district and then shave off the 20% so we can get stronger where other places are a little weaker. So we can take that little voting base and stick it up here where we've only got a 4% lead or an 8% lead, or maybe we're down 2%. And we'll just take this 20%, we'll give some up here, we'll embolden those voters, that vote there, we'll strengthen this vote down here, we'll strengthen this up here, we'll give ourselves a chance down here. That's not how democracy works. The votes fall where they fall. You want to redistrict, wait for the census, and keep it not racially motivated. That is what the law demands. He went right on and lied to you. They are doing it because they want extra seats. Period. End of story. Okay? End of story. And just to keep you up to date on where this is going, because it's not going to end with Texas. This is becoming a war, as we've had it described through other reporting, a race to the bottom. It has begun, right? The starting shot has gone. They are off. The race has begun. In California, again, they have a separate council to decide redistricting, a bipartisan council, nonpartisan council that decides redistricting in California. Gavin Newsom says we're going to blow right past that. They do this, we're doing it here, and we're going to take back those 5 seats. Florida, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri. Florida, in a ever, ongoing race between Abbott and DeSantis to be the most Trumpian state, of course Ron has to get right on board. And you remember a year ago, Ron and Trump were at each other's throat, DeSanctimonious, Trump this and that. When he was primarying him, it was ugly. It was ugly. Well, it's the hate that brings them together. It's the hate that brings them back together every single time.
Ron, they include anybody that happens to be in your state.
Well, California would lose like 5 seats if they did a fair census. And even beyond that, the Biden census gypped Florida of at least 1 seat. We only got 1 seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had 1 seat in that? We should have had at least 2. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives and the majority. So I would love for them to redo the census for 26.
So he's talking about, let's redo the census here too. Let's peel off those immigrants. And they're going forward with redistricting. Florida is. So is Ohio. So is Indiana, Missouri. They're all Republican leaning, and they're all considering mid-decade map adjustments. New York and Illinois, they're going to fight back. They're right now in the process of the legislative processes right now to do it as well. Wisconsin, yes, they were involved, but there are more legal challenges in Wisconsin than other places. Georgia, Louisiana, Utah, they're all having fights. But in Georgia, Louisiana, and Utah, they are fighting back with court rulings that are favorable to pushing back against redistricting. They were making better headway in those 3 states, but the race is on. The race is on. J.B. Pritzker had something funny to say. He said, yeah, Trump's cheating. He cheats on his women. He cheats at golf. He cheats in business. All he does is cheat. Of course he's cheating. Pritzker's the man. Love J.B. Pritzker.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.